Western world be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever. Everything you are is us. I am not saying it, it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to take in gold itself, diamond, I mean, you know, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing. Nothing. And you know it. Nothing. And you look upon, you know, white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Hey, you know, some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard? Okay. Yes. They said, Lord Burton, yes. People like that, they said, we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we've got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that AIDS came from the green monkey? Is it over?
Hello, great sons and daughters of our great motherland, Africa. Welcome to an inspirational episode of Asim Vibes channel. Today's topic in this series is all about Africa. Do we agree with the narrative that have been pushed out there by the mainstream media in the West that Africa is a dark continent? Let's find out, because this is something we need to look into as people of Africa. So, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, the word dark is defined as with little or no light, or having little brightness. Yes, to a point, I might agree with what the definition is, but what about the mainstream media in the West? Do they agree with the definition given by Cambridge? Because what we've been seeing out there in the last 100 years, that Africa is a dark continent. So how can we address this? Let us first of all unmask Africa. Ancient Africa was a continent thriving with 30 kingdoms. Then the Europeans came to our motherland and transformed that to a continent with 54 countries. This is not the Africa that we knew. This is the colonized Africa. The colonized Africa that was created by the West. And the main key players were United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, and others such as America. So the blueprint of slavery enabled the Western powers to colonize Africa. And it does have a lot of its drawbacks. And we're going to look into it because it's very important as people of African descent to really understand the dynamics going on in Africa right now. So the Westerners succeeded by exploiting our resources, by investing in railway infrastructures. They needed that infrastructure to enable them move our natural resources from the various regions in Africa and ship them across the globe. Moment of truth. Do you believe in the concept of post-colonialism? I, for one, I don't, because right now that is not the narrative that we are experiencing right now in Africa. So the answer is absolutely no. We have instead neo-colonialism, which means that the so-called colonial supremacists or powers haven't left the shores of our motherlands. They've still got their hands in the affairs of our motherland, and it's across all boards. So what I've decided to do is look at some countries like Liberia, Ghana, and South Sudan. And I've realized that even though these countries had their independence at different times in the history of Africa, they are still facing neo-colonialism. And it's so evident when it comes to trading with the rest of the world. The global institutions such as World Trade Organization and the United Nations policies do not work favorably for countries in Africa. So this is one area we need to look at. Now, in the 21st century, we can see that the footprint of the Berlin Conference does extend to the 21st century, and there's a high demand for raw materials, and other countries are chipping in as well. They're all looking for their space to take advantage of the raw materials in Africa. Now we have to ask ourselves as Africans, are African nations really independent? They are not independent because there are a lot of geopolitics and foreign affairs powers and policies that are influencing the destiny of our motherland Africa. And these powers include the G7 nations, and China has been investing in Africa. India has decided to come on board, and also Russia. These are countries that are showing great interest in Africa, and the only reason why they are there is because of the resources. So within this context, we will not accept the narrative of the West claiming that Africa is a dark continent. Colonized Africa also has attracted a lot of multinational corporations. However, there's been recent reports on tax avoidance, which is not acceptable and needs to be addressed. And also another drawback about colonizing Africa is the massive infrastructure deficit that we are facing right now as a continent. We haven't got enough functional infrastructures to help us ignite economic development and growth. Now, another sad story that happened was to do with the oil spillage in Nigeria. The Bodo community in Niger Delta were affected, and they sued Shell Nigeria for the malpractices while they were operating in that region in Nigeria. And this is the aftermath of the oil spillage. The people of that community have lost their means of livelihood. Fishing, farming, and livestock were the main source of livelihood. However, Shell Nigeria had to compensate them for the losses. And of recent, there's been land dispute between Moringa community and Del Monte Food Company, which is an American company. The Moringa community in Kenya are not happy with the way the Del Monte Food has occupied their land for such a long time, over 100 years, and they want to renew their leasehold, but the people want their land back. So these are some of the drawbacks of the colonial Africa, or the colonized Africa, because our people are beginning to realize that they have been oppressed for such a long time and they need freedom. The colonial blueprint goes on. Of recent, in Malawi, a Chinese company was being arrested for stealing the rare raw minerals in Malawi, the gemstone ore in Malawi. So these are some of the drawbacks of colonial. And other multinational corporations like Airtel, Ajib, Total, Texaco, Del Monte, De Beers, and Shell, all of them are in our motherland. This is as a result of the colonial blueprint. We need to wake up as Africans, because most of these organizations, many of our people do not have the opportunity to work with them, because these companies are multinational and they rather bring expatriates to come to the continent to work. So in other words, there are not enough opportunities for our people. Now, when the Western media is doing their coverage on Africa, their main focus is on African leadership crisis, the increasing foreign aid dependency, financial debts, and low poverty-stricken continent. They portray us as a continent that is ravaged by diseases. This is what they look into, but they failed to look at the core root of the problems, which is to do with the legacy of slavery, and this has affected Africa so much. So I would say, as an African, that branding Africa as a dark continent is a myth. It is not a dark continent. Our continent is rich, is blessed, and is a way of the Western mainstream media demonizing Africa. And we will stand up to fight against this. This is not the truth. Our continent is rich, and the evidence is so clear. The former president of French president of France, President Jacques Chirac, even admitted it, that without Africa, France would slide down into the rank of a third world power. So the West depends so much on Africa for their survival. They need our raw materials to be able to stimulate growth and continue to develop their economies. And his predecessor as well did admit that without Africa, France will have no history in the 21st century. So even their leaders admitted that they have no other option than to depend on Africa. However, the mainstream Western media has chosen to demonize Africa, and we would not accept it, because we know that our continent is the richest continent in the world, and they depend on us for most of their raw materials to stimulate growth in their countries. And also recently, the Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo has decided to pull the plug regarding the trading deal between Ghana and Switzerland, because Ghana has realized that they can now begin to add value to their cocoa. So Switzerland now will have to look for an alternative supply for their raw cocoa in order for them to produce their chocolates. So Ghana is leading the way for Africa. This is a wind of change, and we are hoping that other African nations will follow suit and begin to realize our raw materials and add value to them. And by adding value to them, we can begin to see the benefits that we can offer to our motherland, Africa.
Hello, sunny daughter of Africa. Can you see? Can you see the evidence? How come Africa can be a dark continent? Can you see again? Can you see? It's impossible that Africa is a dark continent with all those minerals, all the beautiful spices, everything. This is an evidence. How can a continent can be dark and offer such a beautiful and valuable minerals where everybody want a part of it, fight for them, even try to kill for them? It's impossible that Africa is a dark continent. Look the evidence. Look the evidence. Look this map with the natural resources of Africa and show the evidence from the top of the continent to the bottom. Everywhere is rich mineral, is rich of everything that we need. And we are among the top 20 countries for mining project development since 2020. We have South Africa, Tanzania, Mozambique, Guinea, Botswana, Congo, you can name it. How come we can be a dark continent? The top 20 country for mining project now in 2021. And we are among the top one, among the global market. It's impossible that we can be dark. Look at those beautiful beaches where every people want to enjoy those beaches. Tell me, how can we be dark with such a beauty and valuable treasure? How can we be dark? It's now that we have to take conscience of our treasure. And it's now we have to think how we can enjoy and benefit ourselves for our treasure, not let the other people from outside and take our treasure. No, it is enough. Enough is enough. It's our turn to enjoy it. It's our turn to set our condition to others. This is it. We are the world's richest continent. Tell me now, what you going to do with it? What you going to do with it now? We have to think, sit down and tell the world what we want and how we want it. Sankofa.